Hunting for video games in thrift stores is dead. From overpriced hardware you have no clue even works, to things that you think are good finds, only surprise motherfucker, that's grease! Thrift stores used to be a place where you could find lots of great older titles for a universally cheap price. Especially once the current gen consoles came out, you could find anything from the PS2 all the way up to the 360, only that's become a part of the past. That is, except for one very specific niche, physical PC games. And I'm not just talking about the obligatory copy of The Sims or the absolute abundance of Nancy Drew games. How many cases does she have to fucking solve over the past few years between hunting at Goodwills, other secondhand stores, as well as just shopping on eBay? I've been able to amass a sizable PC collection. Some classics, some surprisingly new stuff, all of which are overlooked. Which is a shame. There's been a pretty big pushback towards streaming services and a full return to physical media recently online, with PC being the only exception. PC gaming has altogether moved on from needing discs whatsoever for a variety of reasons, the biggest of which being the accessibility of storefronts like Steam and GOG, as well as the freedom of piracy, completely removing the need to even have a disc drive in the first place. That is, unless you're a freakish goblin man, much like myself. Yeah, it's especially weird to buy these games since most of these are obsolete and have absolutely no use case in a modern computer. Which probably made a bunch of people roll their eyes in judgment at how I spend my money, but I never claimed to be a responsible man. While I will talk about some legitimate uses for physical PC games, I'll concede that I did buy some of these simply for collection purposes, like this copy of Crazy Taxi from the Explosive series. I didn't know that was a thing at all. Crazy Taxi is one of my favorite games that Sega's ever made, and they make Sonic. I already own it on Steam and GameCube as well, so I solely bought this for the dated ass cover with the background of fire amidst a bunch of techno bullshit. I love it so much. I appreciate how much it takes up like 60% of the cover, only for the actual cover of the game to be incredibly underwhelming. It's not the original Dreamcast and PC cover, no, instead it's this boring logo slap onto this mustard yellow background that all of the re-releases got, both the GameCube and PS2 ports as well as the current version of the game that you can buy. But yeah, besides that, there's nothing else here. The back looks kinda cool. Listen man, it was like $5. Or there's this copy of Ubisoft's TMNT, which is a licensed game based on the 2007 movie that I had for the PS2 as a kid, but sold a long time ago. Yet for some reason when I made a video about this game, I completely forgot to use this copy of the game. Fuck my life. Although you could always watch that video. I put a lot of work in. So I own this mostly as a way to relive my childhood, if I ever got the gall to install this to my PC. Which surprisingly enough, even though we're talking about games that are 20 plus years old, is an option for some older PC titles, but not for others. And that's the other reason why many of these games are essentially paperweights. DRM. The boogeyman that most people try to avoid, including myself, but if you were a PC gamer in the mid-2000s, it was fucking inescapable. If it wasn't Secure ROM, then it was more than likely games for Windows Live. This fucking thing killed so many PC games, man. It was a clunky headache that never worked properly, and yet played a vast majority of PC ports. Even when the functionality was completely removed in 2022, it left most games with it completely unplayable. Some of which are still sold on Steam. Can you tell that I'm a little salty about that fact? It's a legitimate reason why I mostly just use the 360 or PS3 to replay games from that era, instead of just going through this headache. And if I do play a PC copy, it was more than likely re-released through GOG. So then, why the fuck do I own these? Especially if I own all of these games in some other format. Well, to keep it simple, it's due to the experience of having a physical copy. For some people, it's as plain as being able to see the cover art or the spine. But for me, I'm just engrossed by the entire package. I love when the stickers are still intact, like on my copy of the Halo PC port. In-depth manuals that often have things unique to the PC release, like this layout of the Xbox 360 controller in this PC release of Halo 2. That's just so weird and so cool at the same time. Or maybe the game comes with an entire CD like Mirror's Edge. Solarfield's compositions from that game are just so damn good, so to get it on CD just by buying the game is a major bonus. Then there's the case of Microsoft's forgotten Xbox One exclusive ReCore, which despite coming with a pretty awkward cardboard cover, came with an entire poster. Man, I gotta talk about that game at some point. Then there's the orange box, which has an orange box. I bought it because it made me think of the Nickelodeon VHSs, okay? Then there's Sunset Overdrive, a game that I love, which comes with a CD, poster, and an alternate cover. All I gotta say is, what the fuck is it, and why isn't this the poster? Man, Jade Empire, a very underrated Xbox BioWare title, comes with a poster, a manual, and an art book. I found this for $7, but those are older games. What can you find in stores now? Nothing. Not a damn thing at all. Yeah, once the 8th gen was on its way out, physical PC releases like Sunset Overdrive and ReCore became all the more rare, mainly due to the migration to digital storefronts since, to be frank, discs cannot hold that much data. Blu-rays still need massive day one patches, and we're honestly getting to the point where lots of PS5 and Xbox Series titles aren't getting a physical release at all. Do you think Cyberpunk is gonna come out on a singular 4GB DVD? Most of the physical copies that have come out in the past 5 years or so were often released in European countries and lacked a lot of the bells and whistles. Hell, it's a miracle that Battle for Bikini Bottom even comes with a disc at all. Yeah, this is when the cardboard and paper slip era began. I remember the first time I got one of these was Lara Croft Temple of Osiris for the PS4, and I was so fucking dumbfounded that that was even legal. Previously, you'd buy something like Killer is Dead for the install disc, and the Steam key just activated it into your library. Now you buy something like Doom Eternal, only to be greeted by a cardboard disc that's solely there to mock you, nestled in a case that's made of that super thin recyclable plastic, all compounding into this cheap feeling you get for even having it in your possession. That doesn't mean that there wasn't the occasional cool release, like Cyberpunk 2077, which I ended up finding for $30 sealed less than a year after release. I wonder why. It comes with all the same stuff that the console releases come with: postcards, World Compendium, HBO Max advertisement. But since the actual game is just a digital code for GOG, it makes up for it with an absolutely massive map of Night City and a physical copy of the soundtrack, something that itself would run about $70 in this economy, all for just $30. But even with these more bare-bone releases, more than often, you're still getting the game for the cheapest price that you can, especially since it's usually just a Steam code. Most shoppers will just write these off as useless, so these are often on clearance at Walmart or GameStop. When these modern physical PC games were being made, it was the quickest way to get big titles on sale, and was more than not often the way I bought them. Fallout 4, Battlefront, Jedi Fallen Order, Cyberpunk, Doom Eternal, Deathloop, even Ghostwire Tokyo has one of these. But in 2025, it's pretty much impossible to even hear of a physical PC game, and that's kind of a shame. Bars. Partly because, yes, these do make me feel all warm and fuzzy inside, but also because there's a lot of care and depth given to games in physical form that's almost non-existent nowadays. When I learned that Halo Infinite would finally be the series' first time to release on Xbox and PC simultaneously, now I was ecstatic, only to be disappointed when I learned that there would be no physical copy at all for Windows. Sure, I can just buy a Halo Infinite poster and statue, or imagine what a manual would look like, but it's not the fucking same, man. There's just no sauce. I get that this is gonna sound very old man yells at clouds and everybody brings this up, but when was the last time a game had a fucking manual? Now more than ever, video games are just treated like files shared over the internet from a billion-dollar company over to my fucking hunk of hardware in my living room, as if they can easily be replaced or forgotten, and that's just not fair. Each individual title used to have presentation and goodies that would elicit this palpable excitement long after the hype had come and gone. Even if that disc is useless as shit or it didn't come with any extras, there's still a physical manifestation of the labors of love done by countless developers, musicians, artists, and voice actors who all did their best to deliver an experience to you. It's sort of fitting that my most recent find that even kickstarted this video in the first place was a PC copy of Call of Duty Black Ops. Now, I'm not a Call of Duty guy at all. I played the first 2 games with my dad on the PS2, mostly because we used to laugh about how the subtitles sounded like you were taking a fat shit, but Black Ops was the first next-gen game I'd ever seen up close with my fucking bug eyes, since my family had a Wii until 2012. But my uncle built his own PC, and allowed me to play a couple hours of Black Ops on it. It was the first PC game I'd ever seen, and looking at this old-ass cover just makes me think of my uncle's gamer den and his fucking castle of Pepsi cans that he used to construct all the time. It makes me think of my grandma, who's not here anymore. It makes me think of the house that we all spent 20 years in as a family that we just can't return to anymore. And those memories don't get to exist if it's just a fucking .exe file sent to me by Mr. Sex Crimes. Memories like mine and yours could probably be forgotten or written off without these hunks of plastic attached to them. Is it the same excuse that many hoarders give? Yes, but that doesn't make it any less true. Ladies and gentlemen, I love video games, I love collecting shit, and I love my uncle. Thank you.